Hey, D Group disciplers. I know that emails week after week can probably get a little bit tiring just to be reading through those and not really having a whole lot of face to face interaction. And so um, I wanted to just get this video in your guys' hands just to let you know about some things that we have coming up in relation to the construction and what we're going to be encouraging you guys to consider in terms of connecting with your groups. Um, During that construction period. Um, Sorry for my voice is a little bit raspy here. I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold, and so bear with me in that regard. So yeah, like I said, I didn't want to just send all this to you in another email, although I will put it in the email. But I wanted you guys just to be able to hear face to face, as it were, from me. Just a little bit more about this construction period, what you guys can expect, and also what we're anticipating and expecting from you guys in terms of connecting with your groups during that time. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you the construction outline first in terms of the timeline that we have set up. And then we'll talk about some ways, some ideas for having your groups connect during that time. The first thing I'll say before even giving you the construction details is obviously these are completely subject to change. There's definitely, we have a broad goal that we have set for these time frames, but they could be shifted by a week or two here or there. So just kind of be aware of that as you're thinking about securing people for facilitating and doing the teaching and things of that sort, that these are not written in stone, but this is what we're aiming for. So currently, we're aiming for from May 23rd to June 27th, which is a 6-week period. This is going to be, May 23rd is going to be the first Sunday that we have the children in the east side of the building, which is where most of our adult discipleship groups meet. And so at that point, for those 6 weeks, we're going to be moving all of the D groups to the gym. And we're going to be doing corporate D groups back there. And what that's going to look like most likely is myself or one of the other pastors or somebody else will probably be doing facilitating the morning in a large group setting. So we'll have tables set up in the back and people are going to be allowed to sit kind of with whoever they'd like. And then we're going to kind of simulate a normal D group as best we can back there in that kind of a setting where somebody will be there with a mic and will be leading us through some questions and applications from the sermon. And then we'll give you guys opportunities to talk about that as tables and just really do some discussion in that way. And then also some times of sharing and prayer together as well. So that's probably what that 6 weeks is going to look like from May 23rd through June 27th on Sunday mornings for our D groups, corporate, in the gym, looking at roundtable discussions and connection time in that way. I know we had talked about at one of our trainings the idea of having D groups specifically meet at specific tables, and I don't think we're going to require that. That takes a lot of administrative figuring things out administratively and planning in that regard. I think we're just going to leave it a little bit more free, just to allow people to kind of sit with whoever they want. And we kind of realize that people are probably going to gravitate towards people in their D groups anyways. So that's the first portion of the construction period. So May 23rd through June 27th. And then beginning on July 4th and going through August 15th, which is 7 weeks, we're going to be taking a break from all of our breakout hour activities. So there's not going to be any children's ministry. There's not going to be any youth and junior high ministry. And there's not going to be any D groups gathering on Sunday mornings from July 4th through August 15th, those 7 weeks there. We're just going to be doing 2 services at our normal times, 9 and 10:30. And again, just really encouraging people to attend the services they normally attend so that we can keep them evenly balanced in that regard. So that's going to be our extended break period for about 7 weeks, again, from July 4th through August 15th. And then August 22nd, the plan is for Weavers to be able to have us back in some rooms. And so on August 15th, the plan is for D groups specifically to reconvene in their normal setting. We're going to have some rooms available. We'll probably have to have some groups, probably maybe 3 groups. I'm not 100% sure yet, but probably 3 groups meet in the gym. But we're hoping at that August 22nd Sunday to be able to reconvene D groups as we normally are operating them. So that's kind of, and then once the construction is finished, probably sometime in November, we'll be able to get back into our regular rooms that we were meeting in before. So that's kind of the broad picture as it relates to the construction period time and kind of how that's, we're planning on it unfolding. Again, this is all subject to change with construction schedule and things like that. But we're planning on some semblance of this schedule unfolding in the next few months. So that leads to what do you guys do during that period where you're not meeting regularly on Sunday mornings? You might be meeting corporately on Sunday mornings, or you might not be meeting at all during that break. So how do you guys stay connected as a D group? What are we kind of encouraging you to do? And really just want to give you guys some ideas as to how you can lead your groups well during that time and maintain a connection and not lose momentum that we've built starting off 2021. So here's some things that that we're encouraging you guys to consider. And we realize that depending on the size of your group, some of these things might work, some of these things might not work. And so I've kind of written out some different ideas for, depending on the size of your group, it would work better for you to do one thing over another. And just to remind you guys, as I've preached from the beginning, you guys are responsible for leading and discipling the people in your group. We want you guys to take ownership over these groups, and you guys have done an excellent job of doing that so far and really seeing yourselves as discipling these people and not just facilitating a Sunday morning experience. And I'm encouraged by the things I hear about how you guys are taking initiative to really pour into and invest in the people's lives who are in your group. Keep doing that. And even as you hear me give these examples and these ideas, understand that I'm expecting you guys to come together as a discipleship leadership team of your D group and really pray and ask the Lord, how can we disciple our people best during this construction period, and really seeking his face in that and trying to figure out the best course forward. It might look like some of the things I suggest. It might look completely different, and I'm okay with that. The point is that you guys are taking the initiative there, and that you are doing what's best for the discipleship and growth of your group. So with that being said, a couple thoughts that I had in terms of things that you could do to stay connected during the construction period is gathering during the week as a whole group at somebody's home or at some central location at a park or something like that. Obviously, for those of you who have larger groups, this is going to be probably pretty difficult to pull off. Those of you who have smaller groups, it's a lot more possible for you to do that. But that's an option, just meeting together as a group. It doesn't have to be every week, but again, just kind of determine what would be possible and doable for your group in maintaining that connection with them. You could also gather together as men and women separately. So one of our D groups has been doing this for a while now, and I think it's really just birthed a lot of life in their group. What they do is one Wednesday evening, the men meet and do a men's study. And the next Wednesday evening, the women meet and do a women's study. And then the men meet the following, and they just kind of alternate Wednesday evenings where they get together and study as men and as women. And the advantage of that, obviously, is if you've got kids, one Wednesday night, the men are staying home and watching the kids. The next one, the women are staying home and watching the kids. And that just allows you to be able to meet without having to go through all the logistical setup of childcare and things like that. And so that's a good option for specifically groups that have kids and groups that are big. Getting groups meeting in smaller capacities by dividing up men and women in that way. That would be a really, really good option for a lot of your groups. Another idea I had on here is just meeting in smaller groups led by your disciplers. So this is what I kind of mean when I say that. I'll take our D group as an example, ID. We have 3 disciplers in that group: Mac Mullet, Darren Schrock, and Don King. And what I would suggest in that way is that Mac takes some of our group and hosts a gathering for them. Darren takes some of that group and hosts a gathering with them. Don takes some of the D group and hosts a gathering with them. Just kind of the divide and conquering. Again, this is going to be really helpful for those of you who have large groups to divide up some of the meetings and gatherings between your disciplers. This obviously has a lot of benefit to allowing you to connect on a more intimate in a more intimate size of a group. And it also just allows you to have more connection points with your group as a whole. So again, the frequency of these kind of meetings is completely dependent upon what you guys can do and what you think is best for your groups. But these are just some general structures that could help you in terms of the planning and the meeting together of those groups. Another thing we wanted to let you guys know is that you guys are more than welcome to use the church for midweek gatherings. Obviously, that's something that you would need to call in to the office and schedule. You can't just show up because we've got other stuff going on. But we would definitely be willing to have you guys do some events or some gatherings here at the church if you're looking for a third space that's not a home where you can gather in a bigger capacity. We definitely want to do the best we can to accommodate you guys as D group leaders and D groups in gathering together over that construction period time. So if that's something that you want to take advantage of, reach out to Jody or Lori at the church and they can schedule you for what would work for their schedules and the schedule of the church. A couple other ideas that I had are meeting after church in the gym or in another area of the church. So on a Sunday morning, you're either not going to be meeting or you'll be meeting corporately. If you want to get together with your group right after the service, you can obviously do that. Again, that would be something that you would want to schedule because we have other things going on at times. But that's another option for your groups, is just right after second service. You guys could gather together in the gym or in another area of the church that would be available and just do an event or do a kind of D group setting if you'd like, just to maintain that connection. Another thing that could be really, really cool that we're encouraging you to maybe try once or twice over this period is take your D group and meet in your home or meet in a home for the Sunday morning service. So don't come to church one Sunday morning. Instead, meet at somebody's house, live stream the worship, sing together as a group, live stream the sermon, listen to the word preached as a D group. And then after the service is over, maybe do a little D group type of discussion and prayer time for one another. Maybe finish that off with a shared meal together for lunch, something like that. Again, I know that would be really hard for large groups, but if you break your groups up into smaller bite-sized pieces, as it were, you could definitely accomplish that. Or if your group is just smaller as a whole, I think that could be a really cool option just to for you guys to do church together in that capacity. I know that would probably be a lot of work, and so probably wouldn't happen very often, but maybe try it once and see how it goes. Maybe try it once or twice. and see how it goes in terms of a connection there with your D groups. And then really the last thing I have here is just you as disciplers intentionally having people over to your homes during this construction period. It's very important, obviously, for us as D group leaders and disciplers, for you guys to be able to stay connected to the people in your group, and obviously trying to facilitate that connection of the group together as well. And so I would, if I was you, I would try to come up with a plan between the disciplers in your group to just be really intentional about hosting individual families from your D group during this time, really pouring into their lives and investing in relationship there. I think that would be really healthy for you guys to do over this time to help your groups to stay connected. So those are some ideas, some things you can use. You don't have to use any of this, but basically the expectation that we're putting on you guys for this construction period is that you find ways to stay connected. It doesn't have to look like any of this. It can look like exactly like some of what I've laid out, but it doesn't have to. We want you guys just to be taking ownership and for you guys to be seeking to disciple your groups as best as the Lord would lead you to do. So I think that's all I have for you guys right now. Again, I'm super excited about the way D Groups has kicked off. I'm excited about this last training that we went through and how you guys are beginning to incorporate and have conversations about how to structure your D Groups in a healthy biblical way. I'm excited about hearing those things, and I'm just really encouraged by the work you guys are doing. So continue to serve the Lord faithfully, continue to rest in Him and rely upon Him for the energy and strength and passion that you guys have in leading your groups. And I'm praying for you guys as you lead each and every week. And I'm also praying for this construction period, that it can be a period of a unique times of connection where you guys can really grow as a D group. So if you have any questions or thoughts or things you want to run by me as possible options, but you're not sure about, I'm always here. Give me a call, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, whatever way you feel most comfortable communicating. And I'd love to have a conversation with you or chat with you about the ideas that you have. Otherwise, I'm just going to trust you guys. I trust you guys to do what's best. You guys have done really well so far, and I'm super thankful for the work you guys are doing and your commitment to it. And so continue to lead faithfully, and I'm excited to see the growth that God is going to produce during this time. Thanks, fellas.